good.
It is.
All right. Though we do know you and from whence you come, would you please introduce yourselves and then you may proceed.
Sure. I'm Mike Battistelli. This is Brett Holland with Stifel Nicholas. Work with the pension assets here for the county. We're here this morning kind of as a follow-up to the work session we attended a couple weeks ago, just to address a couple of minor things, particularly the investment policy statement that the pension board signs off on every year. I don't want to get into all the details necessarily that we discussed, but we're finding that forward-looking, it might be a little more challenging to get the returns on the pension assets. And one thing that we can do that would help us, because we've been up against the asset allocation, particularly for the equities, we've been up against the upper limit. So our recommendation is for the board to consider moving the range from 50 to 60% in equities to 50 to 70%. And that just gives us latitude, when appropriate, to invest a little bit more in stocks. We're not, just so we're clear, we are not recommending that today. Changing the allocation just on the investment policy.
Yep.
Right now, we're very comfortable with where we're at the moment.
Okay. Do we want a motion, then we can have discussion?
I'll make a motion, but I'm not in favor of increasing the limit.
All right, I'll second that. That is a motion. I'll second.
With an opinion.
To approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor, and I'd like to ask if Controller Mettley or Treasurer have any, we've discussed this already thoroughly, but if there are any opinions or comments from our officers.
I think it's appropriate, as I said at the workshop, I think, based on the way the market conditions are now, we give them the allowance to do that, so they're not pressed up against the
policy.
Based on history and our relationship with Stifel, I feel comfortable to move the parameters with the understanding that you gentlemen or your representatives would be sharing, as you always do. This is where we're intending to make the move, and we could express our comfort level with that, and I'm sure that would be considered. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is not opening it up for going for home runs.
Another trust issue.
We still want the singles and doubles,
Right.
and, a more conservative approach, so yeah.
Absolutely. The pension plan has always been built on being a little defensive
Yep.
and protective. I think over the years we've done that for you, and this certainly wouldn't change that. It just, I think if you remember the last several quarters that we've come in, the equities had grown and we had to trim them back. Could we have gotten a little bit more return overall out of the pension if we would have just kind of been able to keep it going that way? Probably. As we sit here today, we had a kind of a challenging September. October's been more volatile. So we're not recommending any current allocation changes. It's just for the future, if we get into that environment again,
Yep.
we don't have to be so quick to trim back the equities, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I totally respect the two of you, but I respectfully disagree on this issue. We have experienced the stock market crash, and historically, that is something we can't forget. And I've always tried to be conservative with the dollar and be a fiscal watchdog of the dollars. And I would hate to lose all of that pension money. So I have a real hard time raising that. I think that when it was set up, that our founding members of the pension board did a really good job, and this particular one, I don't really want to deviate from that. To me, it's almost like changing the Constitution or something. It's something that we have always honored, and I'd like to keep it there.
Anyone else have any comment or question regarding the motion? So,
I just know I have the confidence that they will use it the way it needs to be used. I got the market.
Is this being done in response to something, I think Controller Mettley said 1 or 2 meetings ago, that we have more retirees drawing from the system than we have paying in? Is this what you're?
No.
No, it's not.
Unrelated.
Okay, it's not,
No, it's
okay.
just to take advantage of market conditions that we've been seeping over the top end of that for the equities, and we want to make it, you know, if that opportunity comes along, that we can accommodate that. It's basically had nothing to do with the more being paid out than coming in or
Okay,
anything. No, this
okay.
is just to maximize opportunities.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, if not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we have 2 to, no, I'm sorry, we
No,
have
we, 4 to 1.
4 to 1 vote, so it passes, and you have your new numbers. Okay.
There's a second item here, and Brett's going to address that.
So the other thing that we mentioned about, and again, for the purpose of trying to protect and be defensive, we talked about diversifying a little bit further in the last work session. And what I mean by diversifying a little bit further is we have the majority of our fixed income assets, our bonds, are held with one manager right now. And because of the growth that the pension has experienced over the last number of years, over the last decade, quite frankly, we want to try to further diversify that a little bit more. So what I mean by that is adding Madison Active Intermediate Fixed Income, which is another bond manager. They will complement the current bond manager that we have right now. And again, kind of with the prior conversation, it's a way of trying to be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more conservative. So what we'd like to propose is utilizing Madison as a new bond manager in addition to the current one that we use. And we'd like to take $2.5 million from C.S. McKee, which is a current bond manager, and move that to Madison with the anticipation of Madison. We probably would be adding to that in the future as the pension fund continues to grow. And again, that's for the purpose of just better diversification. I'm sorry.
That's about 10% of what McKee now has, is that correct?
Less than that. About 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 5 to 7, something like that.
Wow, okay.
I don't believe action is necessary on this. I mean, you manage the managers, so to speak. Is that
I think in the
accurate?
past, whenever we've introduced a new manager or made a manager change, I think you have voted on it.
Okay,
in the past.
because moving then within, I mean, if you decide
If we move
there's
money,
another 5% that goes to
Right.
them, that's not something the board
Just
necessarily
new
moves.
ones.
Yeah.
So,
And again,
okay.
any changes, any movement of money, any allocation changes, we always bring that to the board
Right.
before we act on that. So,
And I will entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to add an additional manager.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we add Madison as a new bond manager. Any question or comment? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. We good?
That's it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you for your time.